So, welcome to episode 2 of Snapverse616. I'm still Smokey, and with me as always is...
Invoke.
Yeah, not to be confused with Garth, because that's a very Wayne's World intro. So, first up, we have some news, so we're going to hit the weekly bugle. So this week, the first thing, I guess, is a big congrats to our new favorite game, because they got, as you told me, the mobile game of the year. That's pretty fucking cool.
At Jeff Keighley's Game Awards for 2022.
Nice.
Last night. Well, last evening. Time zones are a thing, so it depends when.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Last evening.
Yesterday, sometime well after the noon part of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. They deserve it. They definitely deserve it.
It's kind of shocking that they won it, given that they literally just came out, 2 weeks, a month ago?
I suppose, but Marvel's such a big IP, there's such a heavyweight. Everybody knows something Marvel's coming and cooking, you know?
The only thing that I find weird about it is there's normally a cutoff, for these awards, and I think the cutoff is generally the 15th of November, give or take.
Yeah, they had the beta seasons and the press seasons out before that. I think that's how they got that, maybe, huh?
Marvel Snap would have just launched to the public, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But I think since they got the press stuff out.
I'm glad that they won it.
Oh, me too. Me too.
It was shocking that they actually won it. I didn't expect them to win it. They were going up against, Apex Legends Mobile and Call of Duty Mobile and things like that, right? So it's when
that's true.
Names like that, you just kind of assume.
Yeah, you kind of take for granted that they're not just going up against Raid Legends or the next clickable from Edge Games or something like that.
I'm honestly surprised that we don't see more Hearthstone in that category, but I guess Hearthstone did have a bad couple years for press, so which is why I'm glad Marvel Snap exists, because it's from the original devs of Hearthstone, and it's better in my opinion.
Yeah. But,
yeah. Anyway, that was just a little quick piece of news that I thought was.
Yeah, super cool game of the year. And like you said, especially when they're going up against heavyweights like Call of Duty and Apex Legends and stuff. I mean, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild, to be able to take that down. Because you just, like I said, you think about mobile games as little dinky things, and this would outcompete all of those. But sometimes you tend to forget there are some pretty big competitors out there on mobile gaming these days, and phones are getting pretty powerful to where you can play things like Apex and stuff.
Mobile gaming is or has been in the last few years, the new frontier.
Yeah.
Of gaming, and there's been some a big influx of what we would consider AAA mobile games.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Tencent get involved on that with PUBG, and kind of that's when everything started kicking off for that? Kind of feel like that's what happened.
Tencent was a big portion of it. I mean, you still got companies like Zynga, which are fucking killing it.
Right.
I believe they're also invested in by Tencent, but they're not full owners, so it's whatever.
Yeah.
You've also got the Candy Crush people, which are owned by EA now.
Sorry for the snap.
So it's there are some.
I'm just trying to climb my desk.
Bigger publishers in the space now. Tencent being one of them, EA being another one,
Right.
Both of which have some negative press.
Right. Well,
so it's cool to see such a small studio.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And it's always nice when it's a game you're into and you're making content for, and you see it succeeding, because it's all right, I got on the right ride. let's see where it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And speaking of get on the ride and see where it goes, as a little thank you to all of us for getting on the ride and seeing where it goes, the developers have actually put out a free storm variant you could pick up. Now, don't be discouraged if it's not there right away, because that happened to me, and I was like, oh snap, am I not gonna get it? Am I not gonna get it? Sometimes when I log in on PC, it doesn't even let me get into my inbox and connect that way. But when I log into my phone, it does. So I logged into my phone. It wasn't there the first time, but like that's where you pick up things like gold and stuff when they give you like adjustments for like, you know, oh, we had a bad patch or something, and you know it might have affected you negatively because of a bug. So here's some extra
It's
currency.
also where you accepted your you accepted your gifts for your welcome quests when you did your
Yes,
welcome quest for the first time.
exactly, exactly. And so you'll find the storm variant in there. If it's not there right away, don't worry, but make sure you check your inbox that first time. And if it's not there, don't worry. Check back again a few hours later. It should show up.
Yeah, like mine's not there yet, but I mean,
Yeah, I was a little worried because on stream yesterday I was checking, and that's like a 3 hour period, and I didn't get it from the beginning to the end. But today it was there, so I had it. So just definitely check that, and it's a really cool storm variant. And if you're like me and love to use the storm card, woohoo! You know.
I have my ups and downs with Storm. I'm using it right now, but we'll see.
Yep. And so next up in our news is so the Power Cosmic came and launched since the last podcast was launched, and with that, some patching, some changes, some final decisions on the initial release of cards versus what was data mined and predicted. Um, so we'll start with She-Hulk.
Mm. I'm actually not a big fan of this change.
Um,
Not a big fan, rather, I should
yeah, and
say.
what's really interesting is for a brief period she was a 510. Um, and everybody was dropping these She-Hulk Infinite 30 burgers on everybody on turn 6, and it was disgusting. It was disgusting. And you didn't need a special card like Electro or anything to juice your energy per turn or anything like that to make it happen. So it was actually pretty disgusting. But now it's a 610, which that's what it should be. It should be a 6 power card. I feel like if it's a 5 power card, that's just way too much power for the way it can get cast, you know?
I
Especially
liked
when
it being a 4. I liked it being a 4, but
the 4/5. I thought it was interesting, but I think this makes her a stronger card. And considering who she is, considering her power level, and considering where she gets her powers from, I think it's only fair she's at least somewhat competitive with the Hulk card. And the Hulk card is a 12 power straight up, so I feel like this was a good change to reflect on the character. It does make her more viable with, say, Shuri, because you can play Shuri and then double She-Hulk's power.
I will say this though, with them adding She-Hulk, it does make me wonder if they're gonna make adjustments to the Gamma Lab location in the coming weeks, so that it can
Oh,
either transform you into a Hulk or She-Hulk.
I think that'd be interesting because then you would have to 50-50 guess like, which one am I
Yeah,
gonna get? And it's a little more
yeah.
risky, and it's not just haha, you've got 3 cards and I've got 3 cards there, and then Spider-Man point at each other, you know?
Because right now, when I see Gamma Lab, depending on my deck, like if I'm using my one cost deck, I'll
Excuse
play
me.
a Gamma Lab. But if I'm not using my one cost deck, then
Yeah,
I'm avoiding Gamma Lab altogether. I'll just
yeah.
let the opponent have that spot
Oh,
because it's either you're gonna even it out or one guy's
yeah,
gonna win it. And I'd rather focus on the two that
yeah.
are more of a toss up
True.
than waste cards in
That's
Gamma
true.
Lab. But if they change it so it's like more of a 50-50, maybe that'll change the strategy. I'm not saying it would change it for me, but it might change it for others, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I could see that. I think she also works good with Sunspot because he can soak up extra energy when you don't spend it in order to cast her. So then you're getting energy use like twofold, kind of. Electro adding an energy per turn that makes her easier to cast, makes it easier to still pull off the Infinite She Hulk move. Um, if you're able to cast her, say on turn 5, you can cast Taskmaster turn 6 and get a copy. There are bigger cards to copy than her, but it does put her in that whole Shuri plus 5 cost plus Taskmaster sort of play if you can get Electro in there early.
Yeah.
I have not been lucky enough to pull the She-Hulk card. I did get a Tuma though, and he's a 4/10. But if he's there with something else, he offs himself. He says, "Fuck this, I'm out." I think. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I haven't pulled either one of them. I've been very unlucky when it comes to.
Yeah. I haven't been super lucky. So our next card that got patched is not a power cosmic card. It's just the Destroyer. But it was a 16 power card for 6 cost, which when you have armor in play or some other things that can kind of keep his ability from hitting. It's an on reveal, so you could even put Cosmo down ahead of him and just stop him outright. And 16 plus that 3 from Cosmo is 19. That's a huge amount of power. Very hard to overcome. Yes, the caveat is he destroys his cards, but
the only card that could beat it in one shot would be Infinite.
Exactly. So they nerfed it down by 1 power to 15, and I think that's good because it's not too much to make him weak, while also destroying all your cards, but it's not so much that someone else's big play will always lose, because that's kind of OP. So I think that's a good change.
You would really have to have a deck built around him, I think, in order for him to be truly viable, though. Like, you would have to have armor cards out the wazoo.
Yeah, and that's kind of why, for me as an Atuma player, I have him in my deck with armor and Sunspot because they work together synergistically, all 3 of them. And so what I would do is be able to, like, say, replace Hulk and slot Destroyer in potentially as an option for when I have the armor out, and am able to play the Destroyer. The only downside is that would reduce my ability to use the Storm armor and Atuma combo as much, and that's a pretty nasty combo itself. But I think it's a good change to Destroyer. Nothing too big, not game breaking or anything like that, but he might have been a little game breaking before they nerfed him, so I think it's a good change. Our next card is another card that got a power nerf, Mysterio.
Yeah, and he got -1 power, right?
Yeah.
So now it's 2/4.
Yeah. And I think that's cool because when you don't know where he is, 5's a lot to have to account for. 4, on the other hand, it's still not super easy because you're talking about a split of 12 across 3 locations. But it makes it easier to kind of shore up 2 places if you think one of them is it, but you're not sure, but you think it's one of these 2 or something like that. It makes it a little easier to insulate yourself against. I also think it makes it so that cards that do have 5 power and duplicate, like Doc Doom, who costs 6, actually get like the real value out of that versus a Mysterio. And then I think the other thing is he's already getting so much power from his drones, and you're like, wait, what? But his drones are like a 0. Well, the thing is, his illusions, sorry, not drones, his illusions, you can buff them with things like Patriot and stuff, right? And if you did like Patriot, and then you hit Patriot with an Onslaught, now you're talking big buff time to these 0, power cards, and now all of a sudden you're sitting on like, 4 power or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they were already kind of OP if you know how to work the deck. So I think that was a good change.
Next up we have Sarah.
Yeah.
-1 power as well. Now is a 5/4 instead of a 5/5. To me, would make her less viable, but
yeah,
good turn 6 card possibly. It's a coin flip. good card to land turn 6 if you got like a close game and you just need a good.
Yeah. It does allow you to play like 2 3 cost cards on turn 6. Or I mean, sorry, 3 3 cost cards on turn 6 instead of 2, because you're taking 1 point off, right, of each. It lets you play 1 3 and 1 4, you know, which gives you basically a chance to do a powerful split push, which can be helpful if you find that you are consistently going up against a turn 6 coin flip. Like, shit, I don't know which one they're gonna go for. I have a decent lead at both. If only I could push 2 sides at once. Oh well, you have Sarah out now. You kind of can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you run like I say a Silver Surfer deck, by her lowering the mana costs, like Silver Surfer becomes.
That's true. She does work against that kind of a deck build. That's true. That would be the same for then a Khazar deck too, because it would reduce like the cost of cards to like 0.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you can play a lot of them, but now they're not going to get buffed.
Yeah, because now their mana is not what it should be.
That's a good point. Our next
I
card.
don't know if the game calls it mana, but
energy. Mana, energy. I think everybody knows what we're talking about. But yeah, our next card's Onslaught. We were talking about him a little bit.
Yeah, he's been around for a while, but his change no longer affects exponentially. With cards like Mystique and locations like Onslaught, like the Onslaught location.
Onslaught Citadel.
Citadel, Onslaught
Yeah.
Citadel, yeah.
Yeah, they changed it to additive stacking, right?
Yes.
That's cool. Because I remember that's similar to like Odin was before they fixed that, where like if you had Odin on top of like a Wong, on top of like a Reveal, on top of like a Bar Sinister, it's like set your phone down for 10 minutes and come back. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So they basically made it so that Onslaught isn't going to leave you sitting there for 10 minutes waiting for everything to happen, and you're just like, cool, I wish I could play another game. Boy, my phone's dying, you know? or
yeah.
You know.
Which I've been in this situation before.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that was a good change. That's just more like a quality of life kind of thing. And then the next card that's big for changes is just straight up added. It got added to Pool 3, and I mean honestly, this dude, how do you have a Marvel game without him?
Well, I mean, he was in the card we're talking about is Nick Fury, of course.
Yeah, I mean, he was a random draw potential, but he wasn't officially like lootable in Pool 3.
Now he's officially
yeah, now you can loot him and have the card, whereas before you could just like pull him randomly. Because I think I had a game where I had Nick Fury once, and I was just like, well, that didn't help me at all.
I pulled him from a location where it was like shoveled random cards into your hand or into your deck or whatever.
Yeah.
I personally don't like them. I don't like relying on 6-cost cards.
Me either, or RNG.
Because 6-cost cards, you can only ever play one of them a game.
Yeah.
Well, if you're lucky, you can do 2.
Yeah.
Because if you get like a Limbo or you lower the cost of
or a She-Hulk.
Yeah. But it's like your average game, you're only ever going to get to play 1. So having 3 6-cost cards in your hand.
Yeah, and watch you get Heimdall and like Odin and like a bunch of shit that you didn't need for that hand or something, you know? Watch you get those, and they have less power than a Hulk or something, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, like even in a deck that I have that's like built for a 6-cost card being Odin, like the Silver Surfer deck has Odin in it.
Right.
Like Odin would work well with Silver Surfer. The funny thing is, I barely use Odin.
Yeah.
Because I draw him early, but won't get Silver Surfer early. So I'll get Silver Surfer on like turn 5 or turn 6, and I'll be like, well, I'll just wait till turn 6 and I'll lay both Ironheart and Silver Surfer at the same time.
Yep.
So that they buff each other.
Yep.
Rather than laying Odin and like possibly, buffing Wolfsbane twice, or I can buff all my cards instead of just one if I lay Silver Surfer and Ironheart versus Odin. So I often avoid Odin.
It definitely makes 6-cost cards risky.
Basically, that's my argument for against 6-cost cards, which means to me Nick Fury is not viable.
Yeah,
Right.
but I mean, if you got a shield heavy deck, it could be. But you're banking on just having such massive amounts of RNG that you don't have to worry. You know,
Yeah, with those Quinjets and Hill carriers. Yeah,
yeah, and Maria Hill and Coulson, Agent 13. I mean, all of them are giving you
it's a lot.
cards.
It's a lot of RNG though.
It is. With Maria Hill, you get a random 1 cost. With Coulson, you get a 4 and a 5 cost.
Agent
Agent,
13, you go from your premier opponent.
yeah, and it's a random any cost card. It's not from your opponent, it's just a random any cost card. I think you're thinking of Cable.
Oh, I thought she was from your opponent too.
No, she just adds a random any cost card. So she could be good, but she could also be pretty
Oh,
bad.
okay,
And
okay.
then Helicarrier is just 3 random cards when it's discarded from your hand. So you'd have to have a shield deck if you're using
With a
Helicarrier that
discard.
has a disco system built in. Otherwise, you're kind of screwed there. And then Quinjet, that one makes all of these other random cards cost 1 less ongoing. So I mean, that's not bad because it makes those 6 cost cards from Nick Fury not such a, you know,
I mean, it's
you
five
could still
instead of six.
yeah,
But
so you could still get something out, and if it happened to be She-Hulk, you could play her for free in something else if you knew that was coming. um Not that you would, because you got to play Nick Fury on turn 5, but if you were to put, I think in a deck like this, I would throw in an Electro, because if you get Electro, you can do a lot more, combine with the Quinjet, and maybe get Nick Fury out on like turn 4, see those 6 powers early, kind of make a plan for yourself, get them both out, get 2 of them out, 1 on 5, 1 on 6, maybe that does something, makes the Coulson cards, playable on 3 and 4. I think if you were gonna do a shield deck, this would be the optimum way to make it. Um, you would do turn 1 Quinjet or Agent 13 if you didn't have Quinjet. Then on turn 2 you would Maria Hill. Turn 3 you would Agent Coulson plus Maria Hill's draw, because it would be a 0 cost if Quinjet on turn 1. Coulson's 5 cost on turn 4 if it's your best option. Otherwise, something better from your hand, or Coulson's 4 cost. On turn 5, Nick Fury. On turn 6, the best card Fury gave you plus a 2 cost, now 1 cost card, or something better from your hand if not. But I mean, there's a lot of RNG into that, and for just those cards played, you're only going to be able to spread around 7, 8, 9, uh, 16 power, which that's not a lot for a total game to split around. That's like 8 on 2 locations and then a turn 6. So it's not exactly
16 power
promising.
on like what 8 cards. So
Yeah, so it's kind
yeah,
of it's kind of inefficient, but if you're into Shield and you just want to have fun with a deck that's RNG and has your favorite characters, that's the way to make it work the best way you can.
and for our next card, we have here that Silver Surfer was changed, but I didn't know this, so that's news to me.
Okay,
Yeah,
so what originally they had him at was a 4 cost, 0 power, and what he did is he doubled every 6 cost card when he came in. Every 6 cost card, both sides. At some point, the devs decided, well, that's not gonna fly. They must have realized that that's just not gonna work super great, and then they've got a battle pass character that no one's gonna want. So I kind of feel like the adjustment was necessary. So they reduced the cost by 1, and then instead of buffing 6 cost cards, it adds 3 power to all of your 3 cost cards. So instead of buffing every 6 cost card, enemy and yours alike, now you're just buffing yourself. And I think that's so much better for the game. And I think it makes him a very powerful card, and it turns him into like a Khazar of the 3 power world, or 3 cost world rather. So
yeah. I mean, that's the only way I've seen him. I didn't know he existed prior to being patched that way.
I mean,
That
that's how we had him last week, but we didn't spend a lot of time on him, so I can understand that.
I guess I missed it somehow, even though I was here for that. I guess okay.
You know what? 2 weeks in a row, canceled. Get him out of here.
Yeah, I think we're at that point. I'm going to see myself out now.
But yeah, so then the next thing we have is we have some Theorycraft updates and adjustments in terms of things that we've seen happen in games since the season started, and things we've learned from like community and all that in terms of how to work some of these cards. That and getting your ass kicked, yes, getting our ass kicked by certain cards, yes, and going what the shit burger is happening, yes, absolutely. So the first one we're going to talk about is Titania.
Yeah. So 1/5. But if you play a card at that location afterwards, she switches sides.
Yeah, and it's for any card. Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone plays the card, she switches sides.
Right. And so we were thinking, well, how's that going to be viable? You know, that's a lot of guesswork. A card I didn't have from one of the earlier pools, from pools 1 through 3, that I didn't have is Zero. It's a 1-cost, 3-power card. Now, I didn't have this card, so I was criminally unaware of the way you could use Titania because of that. The way Zero works is on reveal, he removes the abilities of the next card you play. So if you have Zero on turn 5, you could play an Infinite, for example, because it removed the abilities of the next card you played. But in I think that's how it works. But I know for a fact it makes Titania not move. It wouldn't work for Infinite?
You wouldn't be able to get Infinite.
Okay.
Infinite's ability is from your hand.
Yeah, that's true. It wouldn't affect it in your hand. It would only affect it out there. Yeah. So if you play Zero first, though, it removes Titania's ability when you play her. And so then she stays put. And that makes a pretty powerful play on turn 2. 2 1-cost cards for a total of 8 power. I mean, that's really hard to top early game.
I actually lost a game this week to Titania with the ability taking effect.
Oh!
We just played.
Oh, wow.
With Titania
for
like 6 turns.
Wow.
And he won, unfortunately. He got the last card down. But yeah.
That's something. But yeah, so if you were going to do that as a combo, you would almost have to have armor for turn 3 so that you could protect those cards, because otherwise, boom, Killmonger or like an Electra or something is going to come out there and just poop all over that play. So you got to make sure, you're able to protect them.
Or Wakanda.
Well, yeah, but you don't really get to choose the locations. Wakanda would protect it, though. But for building your deck, you got to bring the Wakanda to you, so you got to take armor out and put them in the deck and take them out there with you. But you could also play another 1-cost, because armor is only a 2-cost. So you could play another 1-cost like Nightcrawler and have movement on that turn 3 as well, or Sunspot to just soak up extra energy.
That combination would work well with Khazar.
Yep. Definitely adds value to that Khazar style deck, for sure. Because I mean, if you play him after, right? If you actually play him after that armor turn, he's gonna buff Zero and Titania, and it brings that power to 14. Especially I think if you can like play Patriot and stuff. Now you're just like, no, not Patriot, because they have abilities, right? No. Who was I thinking of? Onslaught. Was it Onslaught? Because then you could double Khazar's
Onslaught same location
as Khazar. Yeah. But that can make it super powerful, and you're using early cards to do it, which I think is nice, because if you didn't land the cards early to make the play early, and you didn't get it back up, you already know, hey, it's retreating time. So it kind of gives you an advantage of make or break early, and I think that could be helpful, like for an aggressive player.
I really should play more of an early deck, because I am very aggressive.
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of mid-game. I've been playing Silver Surfer deck. So it's like, I don't find out I've lost until it's already like.
Yeah, and you got to predict with that pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like.
I've been doing all right with it, but.
Yeah. Speaking of Silver Surfer, because he had adjustments we talked about, in terms of Theorycraft, here's some stuff that we came up with over the week, seeing him, playing him, etc. First off, how to spot them. How to spot that deck so you don't lose your cubes late because you thought you were kicking ass and it turned out you were never even in the ballpark.
Yeah, I beat some people this way.
Yeah.
By them not knowing.
So some of the clues is several 3-cost cards are in play. Most people don't play a lot of 3-cost cards. They try to keep getting more powerful and powerful and powerful cards out each turn. It's not customary to play a lot of 3-cost cards that way. So if you see that, that's probably Silver Surfer right there. You start seeing Captain Americas and Maximuses and stuff. But also, if they skip turn 1 or 2, but not necessarily both, because their deck would be so stacked with 3 cards, they went light on the 1s and 2s, and they might not have gotten a good enough draw to actually play one or both of those turns. So if they skip those, or one of them, you might be facing a Silver Surfer. And then
I often end up having to skip both.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you see Sunspot in one of those turns, followed by several 3-cost cards in play and a skip turn, you almost are certain you're facing Silver Surfer. And if you're not, they're waiting for their Silver Surfer in their deck, but you're facing them, And so those are good ways to know, just get the fuck out, try another game, because you're probably just going to lose a lot of cubes if they're snapping. Now, if they're not snapping, you can go the distance with just 1 cube risked until the last turn, and see what happens until turn 5, That said, Maximus. If you see a Maximus along with another 1 or 2 3-cost cards being played, that's almost a dead giveaway for a Silver Surfer deck. Because people don't want to just give you 2 cards to draw, but they'll give you 2 cards if they can play a 7-power card that becomes a 10-power card when Silver Surfer hits the floor, And if you see Lockjaw and Ironheart, you're probably facing a Silver Surfer. If you see... especially together. If you see someone drop the Ironheart on the Lockjaw, you're probably facing Silver Surfer because they just want to buff everything, get her out of there, bring him in, or bring in something else super powerful. And then turn 5 for Silver Surfer, that means Odin's incoming. So you have to do the math for that, which means don't think, he's just going to buff everything for 3. Assume he's going to buff everything for 6, because if you can't beat that, you're probably just going to lose anyway. Because if Silver Surfer was played on turn 5 with space for another card, Odin's coming to trigger that +3 power again. And between turn 5 and turn 6, Silver Surfer can add 6 to all of them, And then you got 8 power on Odin himself, so just walk away from that. Just walk away.
Yeah, that's a hard one to beat.
Yep. And then for our last bit of news, we have one or two little changes. One is that the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, will no longer negatively impact the cube count, which means it will double as it should. People who noticed that they were winning games they snapped on TVA noticed they were only getting like 2 cubes because it wasn't triggering the doubling of turn 5 and 6. So basically, that's fixed. You'll now get the right amount of cubes. And then the last one we have a little infographic for. I swear I had an infographic.
You didn't put it in my...
Aha! Found it. Yeah, because the infographic's just the copy pasta for the viewers of the exact verbiage that should be in your script.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said you had some things that...
I just couldn't find it. No, we're good. So it's that Thresholds for collector tokens for the infusion of collector tokens. Yeah, okay. You want to cover that one?
Yeah, sure. So they adjusted the threshold for how many collector's tokens you get based on your collector's level. So at collector's level 500, you get 3,000 tokens.
Yeah.
Collector's level 500 to 999, you get 3,000 tokens.
Yeah.
1,000 to 2,999, you get 6,000 tokens, and
Once you clear 3,000, yeah.
3,000 plus. I read that wrong. Sorry. 3,000 plus, you get 12,000 tokens.
Yeah,
That's a
so that's
lot of
pretty
money.
good. That's two pool 5 cards right there. So it's pretty good. So if you were wondering when you get your collector tokens or how you get your collector tokens or at what point, that's the info we have. And
Also, you can randomly draw them through the collector caches
yep,
too, but you get like 100 at a time.
yeah. So it's not a super lot. That's why this infusion chart's helpful because you can see like how close you are to your next one, for example. So like for me, I've got to get to, I'm at like 1,500, so I got to get closer to that 29.99, I guess, to get my 6,000.
Yes, I'm in the 500 to 999 category. I'm
Nice,
like 800, I think, right now.
nice. And so then that brings us to our next segment.
So, this week we're starting the segment off talking about Bard Sinister. It's got to be my favorite location.
It's pretty
Um,
fun.
because there's a bunch of different strategies you can use to win it or lose it, and then buff your other locations depending on your deck's um, construction.
Who doesn't like
And
big
we've got a
numbers?
ton of screenshots to
Yeah, we
back
do.
up
Yeah, we
multiple of
do.
these situations, both winning on purpose and losing on purpose. Bar Sinister to buff other locations. Uh, but some strategies you might want to use in Bar Sinister is Vision. Um,
Yeah, vision's good there.
Because it provides movement away from Bar Sinister. So you can play another card there later on in the game. Um,
Yeah, and that's
like
four
from
pretty
6.
powerful cards. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a
Plus
good
you
one.
get he's like what, 7 power?
Yeah, so that's like 28 points that you can split around.
Yeah. Which is good for a split push. Plus
Yep,
you can still lay another card at Bar Sinister on
yep,
turn 6
yeah. Like if you have a
and get
heavy,
another 4. So of whatever card you're laying. So it's good for movement and versatility.
yeah,
Same can be said for Nightcrawler, cheaper version, also weaker version, but cheaper version of Vision. Um, but same kind of idea. You can play him early, move him away, and be able to play another card later on um, to kind of get a competitive edge at Bar Sinister. Um, Professor X is another card you can lay there because his effect takes precedent over Bar Sinister. So if you lay Professor X,
yep,
your opponent won't be able to take advantage of the effect
yep,
of Bar Sinister, so they'll lay a card, uh, but won't be able to copy it if you flip first. That only works though if you flip first. If he flips first, well, you're kind of screwed. Although you still, no, you wouldn't. Never mind. No, yeah. If he flips first, don't do that. Don't do Professor X.
I mean, either way, his card still gets to flip in, even if you flip first as Professor X. I'm pretty sure because you already dropped it there; it just hasn't
Yeah,
flipped.
he does get to flip in, but he won't get the copy if you flip first.
Right,
Whereas he
right,
will get the copy if he flips
right.
first.
That's true. Right.
So playing Professor X if he flips first at Bar Sinister is
Yeah.
you're
So,
wasting a move.
so you're kind of like gambling on the fact that hopefully they want to play a 6 cost card there, not a 5 cost card. I
Yeah.
think you can make that play work a little better if you use Daredevil, because then you can see if they're going to do that or not.
Except Daredevil you only see what they do on turn 5.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, though, right? Because you'd want to know if
It,
they're skipping
yeah,
Bar Sinister
you would
turn
have to lay
5.
him. You would have to lay him turn 4.
Yeah, as long as you have Daredevil out, right? Because
Yeah.
Professor X is 5 costs, so all you'd have to do is if Daredevil's out ahead of time, you'd know what they're going to play on turn 5. And if they drop something more powerful than Professor X on Bar Sinister, regardless of whether you flip first, you can just be like, never mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. But onto my 2 favorite strategies for Bear Sinister, and I love both of these wholeheartedly, for very different situations. You can lay Just Jones at Bar Sinister and get yourself a 32 point power push at Bar Sinister, which can only be beaten by, like, Hulk.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful.
Infinite, basically.
Right.
There's also another one, but I can't remember the name of it. It has like 15 power. If you laid it at Burst in the Street.
15 power destroyer?
It's not destroyed. There's another 15 power card that's not destroyed.
Red Skull?
Red Skull, that's it, yes.
Risky, because he loses power for each card they have there, and they would ostensibly fill Bar Sinister, so that could get... He would end up being like a 6 or something.
2 power.
Yeah, so 2 times 4, 8. He'd be a 7 card. He'd basically be a non-movable vision at that point. So it's a risky one, but it could work.
Could work depending on what they lay. But there's also the possibility of laying Khazar at Bar Sinister, which, yeah, that's only, 16 power at Bar Sinister. Very easy to beat. But the advantage of laying Khazar at Bar Sinister is each flip, he buffs every single 1-cost card you have at any location. So, if you, like me, like to play a 1-cost deck, and you have Khazar, and all your other locations are full of 1-cost cards, he buffs all of those cards, not once, but 4 times. So each one gets a +4 power. So it makes it easier to win 2 of the locations. Yeah, you'll probably lose Bar Sinister, but you'll win the game overall. More often than not, unless they spread the cards out. But yeah, those are my 2 favorite plays. Although I will say that the Khazar deck has a very big fatal flaw in that Killmonger destroys it, quite literally.
Right.
Destroys all 1-cost cards. And I've been seeing a lot of Killmonger lately.
Yeah,
so,
I really have. So many decks use Sunspot. I feel like people play Killmonger to kill it.
Yeah. So it's like that play is becoming less viable now. But if you know that they don't have Killmonger, which is hard to know.
Yeah.
But if you know that they don't, or they've already played them, which I can't see that happening, but you never know. There might be a situation where you can avoid Killmonger, in which case the Khazar, and we have a screenshot where it actually worked out for me.
Speaking of screenshots, we have one up right now, going back to that Professor X situation. It's a game actually where what you were talking about came to pass. So Bar Sinister, I played APOC. I forget how I got him. I think there was like a random draw, replace your deck kind of thing going on or something like that. And so at Bar Sinister, I played APOC, and it was way more powerful than Professor X. It's like, sure, he locked down Bar Sinister, and I didn't get to copy APOC, but it didn't really matter because I still beat him there.
Yeah.
So that's what you were talking about. And then you were talking about one with Khazar, right?
Yeah, I think it's at the very end of the screenshots for this section. It's my screenshot.
Is it the fuck Killmonger one?
No. Let me see. It is... That's one where I lost. It's the 8-cube Gamora Avatar. I like Khazar, Bar Sinister had Okoye, Iceman, Odin, Wolfsbane at Quicksilver, Ant-Man, and Otoy, the Watcher at Island at
You
the
called it
island.
Kazar at the bar?
Kazar at the bar. Yeah, yeah.
There we are. It's this one. This one right here. This is nasty.
Because I mean, look at the card. I lost Bar Sinister, but look at the card they wasted at Bar Sinister.
Yeah, it's honestly a waste almost to use Devil Dino there because you know he's going to be so much more power than you need there. You could have just played him somewhere else.
But they did it because I laid Kazar first, right?
Right.
I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I laid Kazar first, right?
Yeah.
And so they did it to counter, and I don't know. If I was them,
You
I
could
would
have countered with anything.
Yeah, I would have laid Devil Dino at the island instead of, because if he had laid it at the island,
he could have played white. He could have played White Queen there instead and won, and then got a bunch of cards. Yep. Yeah. Yep. That's true.
But I mean that's a situation where Kazar at Bar Sinister works. But it's becoming less and less likely now because we're seeing a lot more Killmongers.
Right.
But we also have some other options for Bar Sinister.
Like heavy hitters. Yeah.
We have Infinite, which is an instant 80 bomb.
Yeah, that's nasty. I thought the 40 burger at Shuri's was nasty, but that's gross.
Impossible to beat. Like there's no beating that.
Yeah, unless you flip last and you put a Shang-Chi and go tee. That's really the only thing you could do.
I'm really starting to hate Shang-Chi with the Silver Surfer deck. Let me tell you, it's bad. And I mean your backup heavy hitter would be Hulk, of course, because he's 48.
Yep.
But I mean 48 can be beat.
Yeah, it can. I mean, Destroyer. Destroyer, offhand.
Destroyer,
I was starting to think
of
Storm if she takes it out before you get there. Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to flip first.
Yeah.
Or play Storm turn 3 before he lays Hulk turn 6.
Yeah.
So
Storm's kind of like not viable if you're trying to get her power duplicated, but she's super awesome if you just want to say, ha ha ha, fuck you, Bar Sinister.
Yeah, counter that, yeah.
Yeah.
You say that Carnage is not viable, but I kind of disagree.
Venom would be what you would rather have there, because as Venom eats itself, it gains the power of the thing it's eating, whereas Carnage only gains +2, and because he's eating himself in succession, he ends up just being a 4. It's as if you played Carnage and Carnage. It doesn't do anything.
Oh. Okay.
But if you were playing Venom, he would eat the card, gain its power, eat the next version of himself, gain its power, keep gaining power, keep gaining power. I've seen someone do that with Venom, and it was fucking gross. That was gross.
Okay, and then okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying now. Okay.
Because Carnage just ends up eating himself. But if you were say doing that Nightcrawler thing we talked about, though, right? You could move Nightcrawler away, and then just eat the rest of them with Carnage, and that could make Carnage get powerful quick,
and still be able to lay another card there.
Yeah, to get even more power, yeah. So you could do something like that with Carnage to make him a little more viable, but him alone placed there, bad news bears.
And in terms of other unviable cards, and the last one we have here is Destroyer, similar to Carnage, destroys himself.
Yeah, he'll just keep killing himself until there's just one left. Yeah, exactly.
We already mentioned this one above. Venom is the better option for Carnage because it adds the power as opposed to nothing. And we mentioned before there's some screen grabs that we've been showing of like teaching moments of like situations where Bar Sinister has been helpful or not so helpful. Yep. We've got a bunch, and I think you've been showing them throughout.
I just showed the 2 that we were talking about, specifically the Prof X and the Kazar one. But This first one is from a game where there was an Atuma Oopsie on Bar Sinister. So what you see here is I won by playing America Chavez, who had been buffed by Okoye, so she was worth 10. Not the most powerful turn 6 card, sure. And I wasn't able to play my Infinite because I had put Vision on Bar Sinister so that I would have 4 visions to move around, like we were talking about before. So what I ended up doing was that ensured that I could move a vision to secure the floodplain that I'd made with Storm, even though he was a little bit ahead of me. And then I was able to move the rest of my visions, to Stark Tower and sweep them there, and then just drop America down. And he was thinking, ooh, I've got this 11 Atuma, that's going to be pretty powerful. I'm going to have a 44. Well, no, you're not, because like Carnage or Venom, if there's anything else there with him, he's going to kill himself, right? So he's just going to be by himself in the end. And one Atuma is only worth 11. So playing him at Bar Sinister, that was a bit of a oops on that guy's part. Yeah. And then
that
the next
Venom one that you have there, the Venom armor situation.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that one. Give me a sec. This next one though was the Carnage thing we were talking about, right? And so this one, the guy did play Carnage, and see how he's a 4. So it's like exactly what I was saying a minute ago. If you play Carnage on Bar Sinister, you're just gonna have a bad time. Unless you play him on top of like a movement card that you were able to eat. So, like one that could be strong is, you play Vision there, move 1 away to secure something, eat the rest with Venom. That could be good.
I wouldn't play, that's a waste of 7. I wouldn't play Vision then. I would play like maybe a Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Low cost.
Exactly. Now this next one has a lot of armor on top of a Venom, and I did not win this game. I got swept. It was bad. But this is where I learned, holy shit, Deadpool Venom. Like, he was killing his Deadpool with Killmonger and other stuff. Next thing I know, Deadpool's worth a bazillion. Then he throws Venom down on Bar Sinister. Venom proceeds to eat himself till he's 100 freaking power. 100 freaking power, bro. Then he puts a bunch of armors down because, he wants an armor on top of it, so I can't Shang-Chi it because it's 100 power, bro. Yeah, I never had a chance. Never had a chance. Yeah, it was nutty. That was the first time I'd seen that combo, and I was like, ha ha! Never again are you going to get me with that one. But as you can see, I only lost 1 cube, so I don't think dude really understood just how weak my position was.
There's another one of them ones where they wasted Devil Dino. They still won the game against you.
Yeah.
They wasted Devil Dino.
Yep. And I'm not even sure exactly how they won, to be perfectly frank. Because I don't know what happened at the kiln. But he's leading by 2, and I have a 14 there. That's a 0. So I'm not really sure what happened there. But,
what the heck happened there?
Yeah, I don't really understand what happened there. But
that seems like a bug.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was. But not a big deal. These things happen. But yeah, he wasted his Devil Dino, and well, that was the result. Oh, I know what happened. He retreated. That's why it didn't finish. That's why I didn't count it. I won and he retreated. That's what happened. This person retreated because they knew they were screwed. Because they only had 2 at kiln, and I had Vision out basically, so they knew I'd be able to take the kiln with Vision because they weren't able to play cards there basically. So they knew they were screwed, and that they wasted the Devil Dino 100%.
Then next we have that famous 80 bomb Infinite.
Yep. It really is, and he thought he could compete with the 6-cost Swordmaster, which was cute. It was
I
very
mean,
cute.
self-explanatory. If you see Bar Sinister and they skip turn 5,
Yeah, that's exactly what's gonna happen.
there's 2 of them back to back. Same kind of deal where if you
Yep.
see Bar Sinister and they skip turn 5,
And this one just illustrates that you could have an Iron Man buffing the ever living shit out of some cards that got buffed up themselves. He drops a 42 over there. I've just got a Nightcrawler just chilling. And then he's got 3 blue marvels to buff everything for +1 times 3, so +3, right? But all of that buffing and all of that everything, he put up some big numbers on those 2, but it wasn't enough because he couldn't take the flood. I'd secured it with that storm, with that armor storm Atuma play for 2, 3, 4, and then yeah, 80 burger with the Infinite. I mean, what are you gonna do?
that's one of those like strategic situations where you just kind of know you're gonna lose the
Yeah.
space, that you give up on it, and you play elsewhere.
Yep.
You know. And then we got a sweep
Yeah.
from you
Yeah.
with
So,
the America Chavez.
and the interesting thing is they did the Kazar thing you do, but not as effective as you do it, because I was able to weather it.
I mean, I play my 1-cost deck a lot, so
Yeah.
yeah, I would never make the vital mistake that they made, which is I don't use Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and I mean, I will use Okoye, but yeah, they don't have enough
Yeah.
1-cost cards down
Yeah.
to make Kazar
And I
viable.
think, like, in hindsight, if I was going to use that Scarlet Witch and I'm them, I'm going to play it at the Monster Metropolis because Vision just, like, nuked him. I mean, the card with the highest power here gets +3. What if I clone a movement card at Bar Sinister and move it? Then they're all +3. And that's kind of what happened there.
Yeah.
I think this next one's the last one for me. I'm not sure.
No, you got one more after this one.
This one was a double flood with a Bar Sinister. Yeah, they retreated. So it was a double flood with Bar Sinister, and because Vision was buffed by Okoye, instead of being 7, he's 8, so it's 16, which is one more than he's got at the flood. He's got no other cards played. I've got the other flood locked down, so basically he knows whatever happens at Bar Sinister, even if he wins it, he's fucked. And so that was that. And it's funny, too, because we played Storm opposite each other, but it was my movement cards that allowed me to take both of them. Because we played them the same turn.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that that cards can move to a flooded zone.
Right.
I've lost so many games because they moved to a flooded zone thinking that I had it locked down.
Yeah. The next one was the Professor X APOC thing again. We've gone over that, but if anyone wanted to look at it again, it's that one.
Oh, then
Which
we
brings
start
us to
mine
you.
where I
Yeah.
get completely swamped. Uh,
Yeah, look at that. He got swept. Woo!
I don't
Tell
even
us
know.
about your inner demons there, Jer. Look at that. Middle demons, inner I'll see myself out.
I retreated, but I retreated a little too late. Or no, I didn't retreat. He went Killmonger because I was the F Killmonger. I had
Yes.
the place all filled up with 1-cost, and then he went Killmonger.
Yeah, like all that's left is Kazar. The remnant of your once proud army is a guy that was like, well, I buffed a bunch of. I don't know where'd they go.
They all turned around and ran the other way.
Yeah, they did. Like so much Han Solo running from all them stormtroopers in the Death Star. Like, nope, not where I parked the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, not my finest moment. I hate that card so much. But
Yep.
I mean, that was pretty much the last time I played my 1-cost cards. The 1-cost deck.
Yeah. This next one of yours is pretty nasty. There's a Comertage in play, a New York, and a Bar Sinister. Stuff can move. Stuff's revealing twice. I mean, that's a wild game just on its own.
This is the first time that I used the Jess Jones for 32 at Bar Sinister.
Yep, and we were talking about that. Yep, and that was nasty. 32. And he thought he
I
had
mean,
something with that claw.
he took the middle and he took claw, but because of claw, because it's 6 times 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he moved 6 times 4 rather, and he moved one.
So then he gets the 6 again over at Comertage.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he lost that, but...
Plus he had Mr. Fantastic in the middle, so like Bar Sinister was +2, so does his Comertage.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough to overpower my Hulk and Bugle and armor.
Yeah, that Mr. Fantastic's enticing, but 6 power spread out, it's really just 4 power because you're going to lose one location most likely, even when you win. So
he's good for putting you over the top.
Yeah, he can be for that, yeah.
But you have to leave your middle open for him, which is... I don't like doing that. Here's where the Khazar situation works out. We already talked about this one though, where he wasted his Devil Dino.
Yeah, the next one looks like
was
you.
My first game with Silver Surfer, and I sweat.
Yeah, that one's pretty good because you were able to buff him. So not only was because what you were talking about before. So this is like the opposite of Carnage, right? So the first Silver Surfer comes in and gets the buffs from all 3 that come in after him. The second one gets the buffs of the 2 that come in after him, and the third gets the buff of the last one. So they get more powerful each time. So 9 plus 6 plus 3. So you end up getting an 18 because you get 2 9s. That's pretty nice in and of itself. Plus he's buffing everything else. Yeah.
Plus in this case, he's got everything else being buffed.
Yeah, except little Goose over there. But that's cool because Goose is saying, hey, you can't play anything big here, bitch.
Which a lot of people depend on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's above 4.
Yep. Yep. They're depending on that to get that late game flip it on you. And Goose is like, nah, this is mine. So Goose can be like a Storm where you can still play.
Especially in this deck because it's all freak off.
Yeah. So that's pretty smart play right there. And then your next one
is a buffed Infinite Bar Sinister taking on a Sunspot.
Yeah, that's gross. Fucking
He thought
84.
He thought he had something.
Yeah, and you had the Okoye, so 84 instead of just 80.
Yep.
Yeah, look at that. And then still managed to pull off Nidavellir because none of the cards were powerful enough for that Shang-Chi to do a damn thing. So that worked out nice. He was counting on that too, and it didn't work out.
Yep.
That's a pretty good one.
That's my Sunspot deck, I believe.
Nice.
And so on to our next.
Yeah, that's pretty much Bar Sinister, right?
Which is the Terminus.
No, Lamentis.
Lamentis.
Yeah, Lamentis 1.
Where you draw 3 cards and destroy the rest of your deck.
Yeah, now that makes the poker element kind of just come out at the very beginning, because it's like, haha, I've got the hand, or I don't, because there's no drawing.
It's great if you got a card like Death.
Yeah.
Because he becomes a 0 cost, and he's 12 power.
So, instantly a 0 cost, because 9 cost normally loses 1 cost every time a card's destroyed on either side of the board. So once you destroy both decks, she's free. So yeah, during an event where Lamentis is active, it almost begs you to run a death based deck if you have her. I'm not that lucky. I don't have death for a deck, so.
And I will tell you, it is fun.
Yeah, I'm missing out on that fun. I've got Hela, but that's like the Asgardian version of death, it's death with a little d, not a big D.
See, and Hela doesn't work with this location.
Nope.
Because
she works on discards. Yep, not destructions, exactly. Because she's death with a little d, not a big D. But she's still cool.
So basically, my rule of thumb for this location is play death. After that, it's just a toss-up. You either have your hand or you don't, and if you don't have it, retreat.
Yeah, and so, going one further, I'd say the solid rule of thumb for that location reveal is if your opponent snaps right after that location's revealed, and you're not running death, just get the fuck out of there. Just retreat. Don't bother, because they're going to throw that fucking 12 down for free. They're going to throw a bunch of other shit down that they already have. It's over. Just pack it up. Pack it up. I think the only thing you could do to stay in it at that point is if you had Death or Death Moon Girl. If you had Death Moon Girl, you could really do something, because then you could have 2 free deaths after turn 4. And then you could really be doing something. So that you might be able to, pull it off if you've got that, but short of that, get the fuck out. I think that's it for locations this week.
It is. We're on to Super Squads now.
But we will cover the weekly locations for the events every time. That way, either you're prepared for them when they come, or you know what to do next time you see them. And then you'll be prepped for them when you see them at random, and they're not part of the event. Because like Lamentus here, that's a brand new location this past week. It didn't exist in the game until the event for it, so brand new. But that brings us to our next segment, Super Squads. So we'll be right back. All right, so here on Super Squads this week, we talked a little bit last week about what we're going to do on Super Squads, how we define things, and the way we group stuff. As well, this information is available on our official Marvel Snap tracker that we make for Snapverse616, made by one of our mods. We'll provide that link in the end credits, so if you need that, you can always skip to the end credits and get that. But that will have a sheet that covers every one of these combos as a list so that you can be aware of them. But this is a segment where we talk about them more in depth. So first we have some dynamic duos, and we have a big dynamic duo, an Avengers level threat with Arnim Zola and Black Panther.
I personally have not come up against this one, so this one's all you.
This is the bane of my existence as a Snap player last season, before the reset. So anytime, any fucking time I see Black Panther by himself after turn 5, I get the fuck out, because I'm not going to win. Why? Because Black Panther doubles his power when he enters the game. Well, Arnim Zola destroys a random card at the location he's played at. So if Black Panther's alone, Arnim Zola comes in, says, "Night, night, motherfucker." But then there's 2 Black Panthers now. One at each other location that Arnim Zola was not at. And they're going to be twice as powerful as the one that was already in. So you're looking at 16 minimum being pushed onto 2 spots. How do you beat that going into turn 6? You can't, especially if you're running an Infinite type deck where you skip turn 5 and then you see this guy alone, because now you've skipped out on a big turn where maybe you could have done something to kind of combat it, but probably not anyway. So if you see Black Panther playing on turn 5 by himself somewhere where like you're already winning and you're like, why would you do that? What a dork. I'm going to win now. Don't snap. It's a ruse. He's lulling you in. He's going to play the Arnim Zola on top of the Black Panther on turn 6, and that's Night Night Nurse, because you're done after that. That's 16 to 2 different locations. If he's even got cards on those, which he will because he left the other one open for the Black Panther play, you're fucked. So if you see that, just retreat.
Then we got the Defenders.
Yep, those are the smaller cost combos.
Which, Lockjaw and the Hood.
Actually, yeah. Give me a second. I put the wrong squad up. All right, there's Lockjaw and Hood.
So Hood drops 2/-2 power cards at the location that you put them. And Lockjaw.
Well, no, he's just a -2 by himself, right?
Oh,
So
sorry,
when
yeah,
you
yeah,
play him, it's a
yeah,
-2, but he gives you a demon card in your hand that costs nothing and has 6 power.
yeah. You're right. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
And but Lockjaw also gets rid of the -2 because he swaps it out for another card.
Exactly.
Um,
Gives you all the benefit of the demon, and none of the negatives of the hood.
I'm gonna throw this one in here. We didn't really talk about it in the unless I'm missing it, but we don't. I don't see it here on the list. But Lockjaw Ironheart.
Yep, that's a good one as well. We touched on it a little bit for the Silver Surfer deck, but yeah, that's another powerful one because similar to the hood, Ironheart comes in and it's not providing you power. They're providing you
Or
power to
Lockjaw
your other
Silver Surfer
cards.
Ironheart.
Yeah, so like you play Ironheart where Lockjaw is. Lockjaw will pull another card out for you that's probably going to give you more power, and then you still get the benefit of Ironheart. Same thing with Silver Surfer. So yeah, those are definitely good combos with Lockjaw, 100%.
Then we got Jurassic Moon 2.0, which I also have not used or seen because I haven't seen a whole lot of Armadillo. So you
Yeah.
will have to discuss this one as well.
So this one is kind of like the Black Panther combo. The difference being, Arnim Zola is going to kill the Devil Dino. The Devil Dino is going to be played by itself. And the thing is, that's normal. And a Jurassic Moon deck with Moon Girl and Devil Dino, that's normal to see Moon Girl and then see a Devil Dino and expect another Devil Dino. The thing is, if you do this, you don't need the Moon Girl to give you 2 Devil Dinos because Arnim Zola will. But you have the Moon Girl in case you need to give yourself 2 Devil Dinos. But the ideal play here is to drop Moon Girl turn 4, drop Devil Dino by himself somewhere turn 5, drop Arnim Zola on top of the Devil Dino, and then split him into 2 locations, giving you 2 cards for the cost of 1, which, if you play Jurassic Moon, the original version, in order to get 2 Devil Dinos, you have to play the 2 Devil Dinos after Moon Girl, and that puts you down 2 cards, whereas this lets you keep more cards in your hand so that you're only missing 1 in the end for the most value on Devil Dino, who gets buffed for the number of cards in your hand, plus 2 power for each card. So the way this one works is as a good like last 3 turn combo, and similarly if you see Devil Dino alone, you might be seeing Arnim Zola, but it's harder to 100% predict that the way you can with Black Panther. When you see Black Panther alone, 100% the Arnim Zola is coming. I mean, unless the guy's doing something weird, which does happen. But that's one of the super squads we call the starter dough, because you can build a deck around this. It's a trio, so you can use this to kind of build a deck around and go from there. As like a jumping off point if you have these 3 cards, because it's a vicious combo, and even without Arnim Zola it still can be a lethal combo. So you can get a bad draw in the sense of not getting Arnim Zola, still be able to pull this one off. Which brings us to our next starter dough,
Which I also don't know anything about.
I got beat by this one a couple times this week. So the way this one works is you basically you need Shuri, one of the new cards, one of the expensive pool 5 ones. You need her and Taskmaster to pull this off. Those are the must-haves. If you don't have one of those 2, then this won't work. I haven't been able to use it yet. I have had it used against me. I don't have Shuri yet. I really want Shuri. If I can get Shuri, then I've got the Taskmaster to pull this off with. But basically, the idea is similar to the last starter dough. It's for a 4-5-6 play. And the way this one works is you play Shuri on turn 4. Now, she doubles the power of the next card played by you. So when you play any 5-cost card that's strong, so you can like set this up to have a lot of 5-cost cards in your deck and just, play whichever the most powerful one you happen to grab after Shuri, kind of thing. After you play Shuri, you just play it. Why? Because it will double its power. where does Taskmaster come in? Well, Taskmaster, true to like his lore, right? Or her lore, if you watch the Black Widow movie in the MCU, Taskmaster actually gains the power of your previous card played. So whatever that 5-cost card was that got doubled up by Shuri, that power it ended up with after the doubling by Shuri is now Taskmaster's power. So now you've got two just like gigantic fucking cards that can beat Giganto or Abomination. Giganto, that's the one we were thinking about earlier. That's like a 14 card.
Yeah.
But
I lost it right
yeah,
before the podcast.
but yeah, you can beat those with this kind of a combo, and you don't even have to have 6-cost cards. So what you can do on top of this, I even say this is almost, you could have, a quartet instead of just a trio. Throw America Chavez in there because she'll guarantee drawing on turn 6. Make her your only 6-cost card, right? Because you don't need a 6-cost card. Bam! Now you're giving yourself a better chance to draw Taskmaster and Shuri and whatever other 5-cost card. I mean, you almost don't even need to play turns 1 through 3. I mean, you're still going to want to, but you almost don't need to. So you can throw some things like a Koye to buff your 5 cards that you or 5-cost cards you haven't drawn yet. Like a lot of options to make this super powerful. So look for this to be happening to you a lot in the coming weeks as more people start getting Shuri. But yeah, if you see Shuri played on turn 4 and they snap, it might be time to just retreat it because you probably won't pull that one off. But if you see Shuri played turn 4 and they didn't snap, see what happens. See what happens. Because worst case, you retreat a little later, But yeah, that one can be super powerful to build a deck around. And that brings us to our covered decks of the week for this section. First up, we have one I've been using this week. And I call this one Rad Riders because it's a Silver Surfer deck, and he's named Norin Rad with 2 Ds. So I thought it was funny.
I'm using the same deck, except I call mine SS to the moon.
Nice. Bang, zoom, straight to the moon. But yeah, this one, you have a Sunspot, Yondu, Goose, Ironheart, Silver Surfer, Wolfsbane, Lockjaw, Storm, Captain America, Juggernaut, Maximus, and Odin. Odin is there if you have Silver Surfer down before turn 6, so that you can play Odin where you played Silver Surfer and get that buff going again on +3 on everything. Goose is there to help keep them from playing super strong cards late that could crush your strategy of 3-cost cards because, they can get pretty powerful, but not overly so to the point that you want people playing those.
Like we saw with the screenshot of mine earlier where I laid Goose.
Yep. And they literally had nowhere to play, and they ended up losing. Yep. Exactly. Yondu's there because he can nuke a card that you don't want them to have. That's good, especially considering you're probably going to end up playing Maximus, and Maximus is going to make them draw 2 cards, so hopefully Yondu can nuke something nice. The other benefit to Yondu is he gives you information. He lets you know, potentially, depending on what card gets nuked, what kind of deck your opponent's running. Oh, Arnim Zola got nuked? Ha ha ha! Well, now I know I'm probably going to win, and also I know what deck you're running. Jurassic Moon 2.0 or, Black Panther. Yeah.
Moon Girl,
Exactly, yeah. Destroyer? Ha ha ha! Now I know what your big card was. Or, yeah. Oh, you lost Death? Ha ha ha! I know what your game is, So Yondu can give you...
Oh, poor you.
Exactly. Yondu can give you very good information very early, turn 1 or turn 2. So that's good. Wolfsbane, because Wolfsbane, she gains +2 for every other card you've got at the location. Because it's a 3-cost, you're probably going to have a location you can fill up, or 2 locations you can fill up. So extremely high odds of that card succeeding. Shout out to Malkuvius on that one. He helped me tune this up and told me I should put the Wolfsbane in. Lockjaw there for the reason. Go ahead.
Smart players to lay Wolfsbane at the same location you play Silver Surfer, so that you can lay Odin and buff them both twice.
Yeah, that is a way you can do that. That is true. Though you get the buff twice, you do lose out on 1 + 2 in order to make room for Odin, but you get all those pluses back for the next one, so it's okay. Maximus, that's just the biggest 3 card there is. It's a 7, and that's awesome. You make it a 10 with Silver Surfer. That's a solid fucking card. Juggernaut and Storm are in there because, well, that's just annoying, right? They're 3 costs, so buffable. But instead of Storm Jess Jones, because Jess Jones being 4, not buffable, you can't lock it down guaranteed. But what you can do is on a location they've never played, you can drop Storm. Next turn, oh, I gotta play something. Oh god, I gotta compete with Smokey on this place because oh god, he put Storm. Cool, put Juggernaut, because now everything they laid down in the floodplain gets knocked to other places. And you can figure out which one of those 2 you're gonna beat instead, because now you've locked down the floodplains with a bare minimum effort. So unless they have a large move card like Vision for late, you're pretty good to go. And then Captain America buffs ongoing all the cards in the location he's at, so all of that adds up together to be a pretty powerful deck.
This week on Behind the Mask, Super Baby Out of Wedlock. Who is the mother? Watch the exclusive interview here, only on BTM.
I've fought Sentinels, but nothing could prepare me for this.
Do you ever feel like you want out?
This is blurred out, right?
Yeah, no one will ever know your true identity.
Every single day.
Even a superhero can crack under the pressures of a normal life.
What do you find to be the single most difficult aspect of this?
Honestly, it's trying to keep her from pulling down her damn safety goggles.
For most parents, it's keeping that diaper on. If you could tell her one thing on international TV, what would it be?
Why'd you have to leave me for that polarized punk? Now there's no one even left to help rebuild the mansion when she burns the East Wing down.
All this and more next week on Behind the Mask. Tune in.
And for my deck, as I call it, Eat Me Up, it's a death-based destruction deck.
Yeah.
So cards go as follows: Squirrel Girl, Agent 13, Nova, Quicksilver, which I think I might remove.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yondu, Bucky Barnes, Carnage, Wolverine,
Nice.
Moon Knight, Deathlock, Crossbones, and Death.
So really, all you're missing is Venom. So if you ever got Venom, you could swap Venom in where you were saying you were going to get rid of Quicksilver. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I don't have Venom yet, but that is a good idea, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
I tell you why I use Squirrel Girl, because Squirrel Girl's got a very specific use. It's because she adds another low-cost card to every other spot, so it gives me
It's like Mr. Fantastic,
flexibility where I place
but with cards.
my Carnage. Like, say, for example, I don't get Wolverine and I don't get Bucky Barnes,
Yeah.
then I've got cards that I can place Carnage with to eat. And Carnage is kind of why I called the deck Eat Me Up, even though the death is actually based around death. But it's because Carnage eats things, so Eat Me Up, kind of like Beam Me Up, but
I like it.
Don't mind my nerdiness, it's a thing. But my common strategy is to play Nova, Bucky Barnes, Wolverine, and Carnage all 4 together, because Nova buffs every other card that is laid down once it's killed, once it's destroyed. Bucky Barnes becomes Winter Soldier, which is like a 10 power card, I think. I think it's a 10 power.
Wait, Winter Soldier? He has 6.
6, okay.
Yeah.
7 if he gets buffed by Nova.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And Wolverine, that's a good way of moving them to a different location if I need to. Plus, it buffs Carnage still.
Yeah.
So Carnage becomes, an 8 power card as opposed to?
Yeah. one that people don't think about for Winter Soldier is Patriot, because Winter Soldier technically has no abilities. So that's another way to buff him. I was just throwing that out there. I know it's not part of your deck, but we were talking about ways to get Winter Soldier higher.
But you have to kill Burns before you, right? Which is the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. But I mean, if you could do that and play Patriot late or something, you know, which you could do if Death is free at that point or low cost for turn 6.
Could replace Crossbones with Patriot. That would work.
Or you could do your Quicksilver since you don't have Venom.
Yeah.
And
I
then
don't have Patriot either, but yeah.
yeah, true. But Patriot is one that can buff like a no ability card, and Winter Soldier is that. The only thing is the rest of your cards, most of them have abilities, but your Squirrel Girls, Squirrels, they wouldn't either. Just her. So they'd get the buff from Patriot.
They often get eaten up pretty quick.
Oh yeah. Killmonger, Elektra. Or you eat them with Carnage.
I tend to eat them because I
Yeah.
also have Shocklock, right, which destroys any card at the location aside from it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what will happen is I'll do the Carnage play with either the Squirrel Girl cards or Deathlock. Like, do the Carnage play with, as I discussed, with either Squirrel Girl or the Bucky Barnes, Wolverine,
Right.
Nova play.
Nova, yeah.
And whichever, like, say I do Squirrel Girl, I still have Deathlock to do the Nova, Bucky Barnes, Wolverine play,
That's pretty
right?
good.
What
Yeah.
then makes Death, like, infinitely easier to cast, because instead of it being 9, it's however many cards I've destroyed, to say I've used both
Yeah.
Carnage and Deathlock.
Yeah, then you got
and
Moon Knight,
Yondu.
and that screws with your opponent the way Yondu does, while also discarding one for you. So that's like best of both worlds, as long as it doesn't delete one you really wanted, because that would reduce for Death too. That's actually pretty smart.
And I throw Moon Knight in there because, like, Moon Knight just messes with the opponent, essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had
That's
some
great.
pretty good success with the deck.
Because I have a deck I called Death Moon, but it's because it had Moon Girl and Devil Dino in a deck that was similar-ish. But this, I think I like this better. And often you know you're winning locations early with destruction style decks. So Crossbones, that's solid because high power output for low cost. So
And this is an Invoke original. This is not
Nice.
one that I got from anywhere else. This is one that I've
nice,
built myself.
excellent.
I think it's the first one, other than the one cost deck.
Yeah.
It's my first, like, Invoke original. So technically it'd be the second one because the one cost deck was an original, but that was
Yeah.
built out of necessity because it's all I had prepared.
Yeah. And so that brings us to the end of our super squads. So now we're going to do our superhero system, and we'll be right back. So here at Superhero System, this is where we talk about like the poker, the mental psychology kind of aspect of the game. And this week we're going to talk about how you can go one step further from last week. So last week we talked about how you don't have to know every deck on the planet. As long as you know your deck well enough, you can still climb and climb fairly high in Marvel Snap. This week, though, we're talking about how if you do know stuff, you can go like just that much further and really start having some really nice win streaks as opposed to just steady grind up climbing.
I mean, I went on a 15 game win streak.
Yep,
The other
that's
day?
true. That's true. So the system does work. It does work. And you know, I think to that end, what Jared's talking about there is we started the season out, and it was kind of the Wild West out there. A lot of people were running some stuff where the predictability of things kind of went out the window a bit, and you're sitting there like, excuse me, what the fuck? Baking powder? What? On like the last turn, like just getting hit by things that you never saw coming, like just way, way out of the blue. And as that happened, people were figuring out decks, figuring out what to do, and so knowing your deck wasn't enough, and we were having some slips. When the season restarted, I think a lot of people were having that experience. You did, I did. I know Malkuvius did a little bit. Then he started climbing, but it was rough the first day, right after reset especially. But like that first 24, 36 hours was kind of rough, and
took me a little longer than the others.
Yeah,
but I got it now.
Yeah, but I mean, there were so many new cards right before the season reset, and Silver Surfer came out to compound that, along with some of those patch changes. And I think that really got people kind of like trying some things and feeling like, since they're already down, 30 ranks, why not just, play around and see what's up. And
I
so
also started using the spreadsheet this season, which
yeah,
wouldn't think would make a difference because it doesn't impact the game at all, but it does. It does make
Oh,
a
yeah.
difference.
Yeah, because it takes confirmation bias out of it. And honestly, as humans, we are so susceptible to confirmation bias. We're like, oh man, I've been winning with this deck for like three games. You start forgetting you lost like 12 right before that, and you're like, yeah, you know what? I just needed a minute. Now I got this deck down. Then you lose 12 more games. If you had all that data tracked, easily viewable while you're playing on a spreadsheet,
You're like,
you can go,
oh,
I really suck with this deck, and I've won all of 3 games. Oof. But confirmation bias makes you think, man, I'm really onto something here. And then, you end up playing against the house, as it were, kind of like walking into the casino in Vegas, going, hey, take my money. And, you don't want people taking your cubes off you. That's no good.
I mean, it works the other way too, where it's like you can start to feel like you're losing every
Yep.
game, and then you look over at the spreadsheet and you're like, oh, well, really
Yep.
not. Like,
Yeah.
I did that. I set a 15-game win streak.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, or you can see, oh, my rank when I started, this play session was here, and I'm actually up this much, even though I feel like I'm losing a lot today. And, that can happen if you're having a lot of retreats and other things, or getting a couple bad beats. You start forgetting that you were piling up those wins and collecting those cubes. But our spreadsheet we have that we were talking about earlier in the broadcast, and that we will have as a link below for you, and mentioned again in the credits and all.
and we're constantly adding new features too.
Yeah.
Like, we're experimenting with adding a win-loss tracker per deck.
Yep. And the way that'll work,
I'm excited for it.
yeah, that's going to be great. That was Jared's idea for that. And the way that's going to work is we're going to have a static version on the community folder of the Google Drive for the podcast. And that one will only get updated each season. That way, it's when you're going to put your new sheet in the template anyway. And so each season, there's going to be all those updates. So right now, the one that comes out today, that's the one we're going to have and we're going to be using. And then when the next season comes out in a few weeks, we'll have some more updates. And, if the win-loss tracker's not in yet, it'll be in by then, and et cetera, et cetera. And again, in there's a place you can suggest, things you'd like to see in it and updates and things. No idea is too silly. Because we honestly don't know how it's done. We didn't make it, but everything we've ever thought of, our mod that's a dev, she's been able to implement it. So come at us, bro.
With me, with the win-loss record, I was like, this is just an idea I had.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's doable. It's just like, oh yeah, I can do that. Like,
Yeah, and she likes to do it. She gets all excited about it. So honestly, if you have cool ideas, let us know in the comments, email us, whatevs. Hit us up on social media. However, we'll get the info, and then we'll see if we can get that implemented before the next season. But back to the superhero system outside of just tracking wins and getting out of confirmation bias. knowledge is power. And people say that and it sounds corny, but no, really it is. Knowledge is power. And in this game too, it's not just like in life and everything else. I mean, hell, I'm wearing the shirt for today. Science, the Tony Stark shirt. But you can maximize your power potential at essential and winnable locations if you have the deck, card, and card combo knowledge to predict what your opponent's going to do. Like when we said, hey, you see Black Panther turn 5 all by himself, dude snaps, back the fuck out, because Arnim Zola's about to happen. You're about to have 2 Black Panthers, and they're about to be way tougher than that last one was, and that one was already too tough, so get the fuck out. But, knowing those combos, decks, and cards that run like counter to your own deck as well, that allows you to recognize those losing situations before it costs you big. So like with Black Panther and Arnim Zola, if you don't have a Shang-Chi and you don't have Shang-Chi and the turn flip first on 6, forget about, or a turn flip second on 6, forget about it. You're not killing Black Panther, so he's going to be a threat. But if you have the kind of card to deal with it, that kind of card knowledge, can help you. But if you're running, a typical deck with no way to really get rid of Black Panther, then it's probably best to just say deuces and run away from that one. And there's no shame in that, because you want to recognize that losing situation before it costs you big. And as far as a knowledge base goes, that's why we were also talking about the spreadsheet too, is because we have a tab in there that gets updated on Fridays, so you can at least look at it and copy that into your sheet or copy that sheet into the book. But that data will be available and updated Fridays after every podcast, because we get suggestions from the community throughout the week. That, and we have our games we play and we see, these combos happen to us. So basically, use that Super Squads segment we do weekly and the reference material we build for that into the spreadsheet. Use that as a knowledge base, because that's going to make a lot of difference, just knowing in your head what to look out for combos wise. Like, oh, I see that, he played that, okay, he's probably going to play this and this later. Can I outdo that? Let me do the math. You know what I mean? Then if it's a coin flip, or if you've got it, or if just back the hell out. To that end, some things we use, and they show up in the the special thanks and shout outs at the end credits. But marvelsnap.io, snapzone.com, those can be very useful resources for seeing what kind of deck building's out there. If you just want to learn that way by looking up what people are doing rather than what you encounter in the wild. Additionally, they have all the card information, so you can try to not get caught with your pants down like I did in the scenario with Titania. That way you can see that, oh look, this 0 card exists, I don't have it but it exists, oh this is what it does, cool, so now I know what makes Titania viable, etc., etc. But yeah, so that's our Super Squads. And so I think now we have some more screen grabs of the week. These are just funzos. And then we get into all of the community stuff. And if you want to be a part of that, definitely hit us up in the comments, email, whatever, and get in touch. And we will try to get your content, whether it's your deck you have that you want to feature on here, or whether it's a screen grab of a game you thought was dope, or a clip you have of a game or of your stream. Let us know in the comments. We'll try to get it on there. And if you want to be a guest, you're another streamer, you want to be a guest on a segment, we'd like to try to arrange that too. So hit us up. But that said, here are some fun screen grabs from the week. So our first screen grab, I've got armor played on the right on Danger Room, but it looks like I abandoned that plan.
Yeah, you certainly did.
But what's really interesting here isn't that. It's the fact that there was an Agatha Harkness in the guy's deck, and it didn't get played till the end. And I got 8 cubes. So what really is interesting about it is he was willing to bet 8 cubes on the AI playing his deck for him. Because until Agatha's out and played, she's making all your decisions for you. So that was kind of interesting. And when you look at the way stuff played, yeah, it kind of looks like, she popped out on turn 5 and he was able to finally play on turn 6, but by then it was too little too late. And Taskmaster wasn't enough to overcome Infinite, and he'd already lost the Flood. And the cards played at Flood were just so weird. When Agatha had things like Swordmaster to play like Jubilee and Ghost Rider, it was just so weird.
Yeah, I mean, pretty dead giveaway that it was AI.
Yeah, and then so this next one, there were a lot of rocks in play because of debris. And the way debris works is she puts one rock at every other location for both players that she's not at. So and then he played a Hobgoblin on me at Miniaturized Lab on turn 6 because you can't play on 3, 4, and 5. So that was his big play for turn 6, and I just put Hulk, so he never had a chance.
You get 2 storms.
Well, see, now that's the fun part. How I got 2 storms, note that they're 2 different storms.
Yeah, one's a very...
Yeah. So the one played on the right location, that's mine. The other one, well, a location in play copied it off of him. So I dropped one after the other.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And there was like, no, it didn't draw it into my hand. I know what it was. It was X Mansion, and it played it there. And I was already planning on playing Storm my next turn. So I just dropped Storm anyway. Yeah, that was dirty. I did him dirty on that. This next one, another Danger Room armor situation. And this is... it's what?
This one you didn't abandon.
No, I didn't. And I also named this one Quit Hitting Yourself because dude tried to Hobgoblin me, but I filled the location at that point in time. And see, I had a Nightcrawler there to fill the location just in case they were going to try some shenanigans, and I could move Nightcrawler away at the end or something if I want to play another card. Keeps him from playing a Hobgoblin type situation on me, right? But, yeah, he ended up playing himself, gets himself a -8, when all he had to do was, not do that and maybe play like a power card at Elysium or I don't know what, and maybe beat me. But, yeah, wasted opportunity trying to troll me.
This next one's a weird one.
Yeah.
How are you hearing that? It's supposed to be muted. Oops.
It's all good.
This next one's a weird one.
Well, yeah. Yeah, so there's a bar with no name, and he had played there before it flipped. Now, this is where it gets funny. He plays Cloak afterward and is like, that's cool, I'll move it, it'll be fine. Only multiple man clones himself back where he was at the same power, so all I had to do was not put anything at bar with no name, and that one was mine. And then, Superflow, I wasn't ever going to play there because I wanted all that extra energy. So the fact that he gave me bar with no name, I just started dumping on the Starlight Citadel. And then his last ditch effort, after Doctor Stranging, which only pulled, because he hadn't put Arrow down yet, it pulled multiple man out. And the funniest part is when he put Arrow down, well, that was turn 5, and I wasn't doing anything because I was waiting for Infinite. So Arrow just came in like, I'm going to move your card. What? Wait, what cards? I was gonna move
The,
cards.
the funny part is, like, in that situation, he couldn't even do anything like Hobgoblin to you, because Hobgoblin would have guaranteed the bar with no name victory as well, because it's lower than 0, right? So,
Exactly.
even if he had a Hobgoblin, he couldn't.
Exactly. The only thing he literally could have done is like tried to titanium me or something, like Professor X the turn after playing it and hope it's still on my side. I mean, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know how he gets out of that. I don't think you do.
Well, no, Titania wouldn't have worked because he would have had to play a card there the next turn that he. So
Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, if he could play one that's like a low enough power and force it over there, like Xavier it wouldn't work though because it'd be 6. So yeah, I don't even know how you get out of that. I don't think you do. And so basically, at his last ditch effort was he threw out the Heimdall, and that wasn't enough because it was never going to be enough. There aren't enough numbers on the board to deal with that at that point to fit there. So that was done.
This next one, he locked down the middle, thinking that he had you beat, but nope.
Yeah, and what was really interesting is the second he had that Professor X lockdown, he snapped. So I just snapped back because I was like, cool story, bro. Because I'd already flooded the flood. That was done. And I had the Storm Armor Atuma play, which is like the ideal one. It's even bigger than Storm Jess Jones because that's only 10. This is, look at that, 15. Beautiful.
What I don't understand is this, though, is why did he armor Shadowland after playing Bucky Barnes and Wolverine?
Well, no. What's even funnier is he played armor third, so that means he played Bucky last, and that was his turn 6 play. Basically, he couldn't play anything on the flood. He'd locked down Professor X, and he was like, "I guess I don't have the cards that are required to nuke Bucky, so maybe a 4 works." Yeah, exactly. He should have retreated. I should never take 8 cubes here. He should have 100% retreated, backed off. Game should have ended without the final turn playing out, and that should have been that. But instead, I got 8 cubes because Bucky and armor. What? It was so weird. That's why I put that one in, because it was just so weird. And then this next one, I got my ass handed to me, but it's beautiful. Because I had not seen Galactus in the live yet. Like, I hadn't seen him in the wild. I only seen him, like, in the shop or, on the podcast or on a website or something, right? Hadn't seen him in the wild, hadn't seen him in the game. Then this game happened. And what I like about where I took the screenshot is I took it with the thumbs up because dude did it. That's all I know. He did it. And he did it exactly the way I said. If you're going to play Galactus, this is the best way to do it. What I say play Wolverine somewhere before you play Galactus, because then Wolverine comes back and you have 6 points. Now look at that. He played Wolverine, nukes 2 places, Galactus gets Wolverine back with him, bam, 6 points, and, I'm gone because I can't do shit. It's over. That's turn 6. I'm done. I was winning the other 2 locations. Never saw it coming. Yeah, it was pretty good. But I think he wasn't 100% confident that 6 would win there. And that's why I only lost 2 cubes.
Makes sense. 6 isn't a lot.
Yeah. Then this next one, I took down another 8 cube win. And what's interesting is leader didn't work for him. And if you look as to why leader didn't work for him, it's because my turn 6 was clearly Infinite. Well, the thing about Infinite over there is he can't clone the Infinite having played leader because that location's full. The one thing you do not want to do if you're playing a leader deck and relying on leader to clone your opponent's play on turn 6 is don't fill all your locations. And so what ended up happening was all I had to do was knowing that the raft is full, knowing that even if he like put out like a blue marvel or something, the most he could get is not going to touch that 19 from the Infinite. Like I was pretty secure in that. There's very few plays that could have beat me at that point, and I didn't think he had him. It's an easy dub because the leader can't copy anything. So, it's pretty funny. Then this, I think this is my last one of the week. I'm not positive. It's either this one or the next one. This one, I Infinite against Squirrel Girl and win. The Bifrost moved everything over. So what I had done was I had stormed in the middle, knowing that the Bifrost was going to happen. And when the Bifrost, goes down, it's going to move my cards off of the flood. So yeah, I'm not going to be winning it anymore, but he also can't play there. It moved all my cards to the raft, and the raft gives you a free six cost card, that costs 0. Well, I got the Destroyer, and he'd played Armor, so I played Destroyer. And since it was free, I also played Infinite. It was dirty. It was very, very dirty.
Yeah, it looks like it.
But that's the end of my screen grabs. This next one is yours. It looks like Lamentus
This is
job.
the one where I beat him with his own deck. Oh, for 8 too, it was great.
Yeah, you called it Big Brain.
Yeah. Because people don't expect to lose to their own deck. Right?
Yep.
Most situations, like, if you're playing against somebody and you have to swap decks with them, chances are you're going to beat them.
I usually retreat, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. But this one, I was like, I knew the deck that I had. I was running, I want to say I was running my 1 cost
Yeah.
deck. I want to say it was the deck I was running. So I knew that I could beat it. Because most people run Killmonger or they run
Right.
a bigger power deck. So it's like, I
Right.
know how to beat my own deck. So I was willing to take the risk, especially with it being the first location revealed. It was fun all around, especially to get 8 points out of it. But
Yeah, and when you get Lamentus too, that helps because then you get to really see what their deck really is and know if you could actually make Word World work for you.
Yeah, because right away his deck was destroyed, right? So,
Yeah, and you drew out like 3 cards from it right away, so you got to see like what his deck was made of for you before,
those 3 cards were Moon Girl, Apocalypse, and Agent 13.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's a fun one. Your next one though, you it looks like you won even though the guy copied your Infinite.
yeah, I was kind of sad that he copied my Infinite, but also, like, you know.
It didn't help him because he stacked everything on that side.
Yeah,
Like he had a huge Black Bolt and Wong. He had his leader there, that copied that Infinite, but I mean he only had a 2 at DC.
I had won the middle right away.
Yeah. And so it's weird to me that he wouldn't play at DC at all after that.
He should have played leader at DC as opposed
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
leader at.
I mean, he still would have lost by 2, I think, with that though, because you didn't play Sunspot that turn. So.
No, I played Sunspot first turn.
And Shuri's Lab doubled leader to 8, so I think even if he does that, he still loses, but he wouldn't have known that, so he should have done that.
And I would have won. I would have won Shuri's Lab if he had done that because he wouldn't have copied Infinite, right?
Yep. Exactly.
So no matter what, I would have won.
Yeah, so he should have been able to recognize a losing game and get out of that, but didn't.
I mean, these games were at a very low rank.
Yeah.
Like, these were at 10 to
Yeah.
13.
And people get
So,
very confident in certain cards sometimes down there. Like that Wong probably made him like all juicy for it.
yeah. The next one,
This one, you have like a flood that you did, a Grand Central, and a miniaturized lab.
Infinite's what won this one for me. The Infinite draw.
Yeah. Yeah. Because even with Odin adding that extra reveal to Jess Jones, that's not enough power there. And something tells me he played Magneto and fucked himself.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. He played Magneto and it pulled.
Yep, I've seen it 100 times. Well, maybe not 100, but seen it a lot, and it cracks me up when it happens because Magneto's a card I want for my deck, but
I'm in a 4-year Infinite.
right, right. It's like, surprise, bitch, you pulled other shit.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I only got 2 points out of it, so
Yeah.
it's nothing.
Still though,
spectacular,
hey, win's a win, dub's a dub.
And then we got a sweep, which
Yep, your last screen grab of this week. It's a sweep. It's a good one.
admittedly, it probably shouldn't have been a sweep.
Yeah.
Having the Hulk and Infinite out because, if I'm not mistaken, he got. When did that happen?
Well, and it looks like he got because there was limbos. There was a turn 7, so you got to play him on 6 and 7. But it looks like he played as Jess Jones before the Scarlet Witch or something, or like he did something there that he didn't let Jess Jones buff up.
So, what happened was he played Jess Jones. He had played Jess Jones, and then he didn't like the location that was there. So he played Scarlet Witch. I played Infinite. The same turn he played Scarlet Witch. And then we had the Limbo. So then I played Hulk, which outpowered his Jeff Jones, and because it didn't buff, because he played Scarlet Witch, because he didn't like the initial location.
Right. Interesting.
Which was I want to say like a -2 power. So if he had left it like he would have been fine because I wouldn't have played Hulk there. I don't think. But yeah, he still wouldn't have won because of Infinite. Like because his other 2 locations, Foley had no other choice. But I mean,
Interesting.
That was a bad use of Jess Jones.
Yeah. You always want to get that buff. I mean, if he got that buff, he'd have only been down by 1. You know, makes it a little more palatable and potential.
And if I had misplayed and didn't play Infinite or didn't play Hulk and played like I don't know Jubilee, which is in my hand, like I could have pulled Jubilee. Which normally I would have. I've already played Jubilee.
Right.
But I knew because I had Infinite in my hand from day 1, from turn one, and Hulk in my hand from turn 1. So I knew playing Jubilee wouldn't add up.
Right.
Because my 2 big turds were already pulled.
Yeah.
So what's Jubilee gonna pull?
America at best.
And I'm gonna get her anyway on turn 6 in my hand. So if I need to play her, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why when I got Atuma, I replaced Jubilee in that style deck with Atuma because I was already using armor, and then Jubilee frequently didn't draw out a big enough card, and Atuma for 4 cost, same cost, always at least is 10. So that's screen grabs. That brings us to community decks. So we'll be right back. All right, so the first deck is Malkuvius's go-to. Yep. So let's see
Interesting
here.
deck. I can tell you, I don't like it. I would not want to play against it.
Yeah, so what he's got here, and this is his go-to, like he uses when he wants to climb or whatnot, or like when he feels like he's in a rut. It's got Wasp, Squirrel Girl, Misty Knight, Shocker, Mystique, Patriot, Brood, Cosmo, Khazar, Blue Marvel, Onslaught, and Ultron. So the synergies for this deck are basically there's a lot of things with no abilities, and Patriot that gives a boost +2 to all things that don't have abilities. So that goes for Broods. It goes for Ultron bots. Squirrel Girl
Goes for
Squirrels.
Wasp, for Misty Knight, goes for Shocker.
Yep, goes for Misty Knight and Shocker by default. If you have Mystique played after Patriot, now you get both.
You can copy it.
If you get Mystique played after Patriot and then you get an Onslaught on top of it, now you get it ×3, ×4.
Plus everything.
Yep. So I mean, one way or the other, shit's getting buffed. There's a lot of shit that can get buffed. You got Cosmo there to screw up the reveals for the other person because you just care about ongoings and no power. So no big deal. And then the places you do need reveals, you can play where you didn't play Cosmo if you did that. So like all in all, that's a pretty nasty deck.
I'm only missing 3 of those cards. I might try it.
Nice.
I'm missing Mystique, Patriot, and Ultron.
I think I literally have all of these, and I might have to give this a whirl because it looks fun. It looks pretty fun.
And he's got my favorite, dude. He got Khazar, right?
Yeah, you were sold at Khazar. He said Kuz, and you were like, cousin or Khazar? I'm interested.
So I can see one downfall to it, though. He does have, there's only 2 of them, but 2 of his cards that he would buff are 1 cost.
Yeah. Well, you're also forgetting the Ultron bots and the squirrels because they would be 1 cost cards technically.
Would the squirrels and
they're 1 cost cards
get destroyed by Killmonger though? No,
they
wouldn't.
They could because they're 1 costs.
The Squirrel Girl would, but the bot wouldn't, right?
No, they're 1. All of them are 1 cost, even though they technically don't get played.
See, I thought that they would be the same as it would be as no cost because they're copies of Ultron.
No, I'm pretty sure they're 1 costs. But even if I'm mistaken and Khazar doesn't buff them, it's still pretty nasty just from the Mystique, Patriot, Onslaught, Blue Marvel buffs.
Well, my concern was Killmonger. That was my concern.
Yeah, with him killing stuff, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, small price to pay, and there's really only a couple cards that can really hurt. So I think you'd be okay.
2 at most, really.
And depending on how many bots are actually being used to win,
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to play both Onslaught and Ultron in the same game.
Exactly. So you would have different things going on. Exactly. So you're only going to play 1 version of that strat, not both at the same time, yeah. Unless it goes to Limbo or some weirdness.
Which is probably why he's got both Squirrel Girl and Ultron, just in case he doesn't want to play Ultron, or just in case he doesn't draw Ultron.
Exactly. And since the squirrels are also synergistic with Patriot, or Patriot Mystique,
And synergistic with Khazar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of extra power. It makes some real small cards real big, real fast. Our next deck is from Adobo Sage, another streamer, like Malkuvius. And this one was called the Send Help deck. And it's got Ant-Man, Armor, Colossus, Cerebro, Mystique, Mr. Fantastic, Captain America, Cosmo, Warpath, Iron Man, Professor X, and Spectrum. So basically, this deck is synergistic in that it is synergistic. Like all these cards are synergy cards. Yeah, and they're all ongoings, and you have a spectrum. So the goal is to get all the ongoings out, shut one of the lanes down, maybe with Professor X, or double buff with Iron Man, and then drop a spectrum somewhere and make all of that just get even bigger. The Warpath is interesting because you can make it work. It is an ongoing, but you have to leave him a location empty. Yeah, one of the locations has to be empty, which means if you're gonna go the Warpath route, then you have to commit to 2 spots, so you're susceptible to like storm and things like that. But
I'm not a fan of that. I would remove him for
yeah,
Jess Jones
fair.
or another ongoing probably.
Yeah, I mean he's got armor, so you could put a Tuma in there, get 10 straight up, not have to worry about the location filling, and then just have to play him with armor. That'd be an option.
Yeah, yeah. That'd probably be the plan. Play a Tuma.
Yeah, if I was going to change it for Warpath, that's what I would do. Yeah. Our last deck comes from Oro, who had a deck last week. They called this one their Jubilee deck, and it's got Sunspot, Iceman, Jubilee, White Queen, White Tiger, Blue Marvel, Devil Dino, Vision, Abomination, America Chavez, Hulk, and the Infinite. And right away, the first thing you see is, oh my god, they're all giant cost cards. But
yeah, because it's built around Jubilee. Jubilee's
yeah,
gonna pull at least one of those.
Yeah, basically that's the gambit. Is you hope you get Sunspot and Iceman early, so that you can buff Sunspot continually. Iceman can, make one of their big cards cost more and maybe screw them. And since you have so many big cost cards, you've got a better chance of winning just because of that. And then
that would be filthy when you get one of those locations that like add a copy of this card to another location.
Yeah, because you could Jubilee and pull 2 big cards. You could get White Tiger out there dropping tigers. White Queen's stealing cards from the enemy. I mean, you got Vision for movement.
Could work well with Burst Sinister too.
Yep, and because you have America Chavez, you're guaranteed to be drawing like big cards when you need them, and hopefully getting Jubilee out in time.
You're getting the turn 6 regardless, which means the other ones have to fall between 1 and 5.
I could see a lot of need to retreat early if you don't get exactly what you need to start, but if you get those cards, oh man.
Your first 3-card hand needs to be Sunspot, Iceman, and preferably Jubilee.
Yeah. And if not, Sunspot, Jubilee, and hope you draw one, or any combination with one of those 2 in Jubilee, preferably Sunspot, I would think, for the energy, because you're going to have to skip some of those turns.
Your perfect hand would be Sunspot, Jubilee, Iceman. That would be your perfect starting hand.
Yeah.
Play Iceman turn 1, Sunspot turn 2, wait turn 3, Jubilee turn 4.
Yeah, it makes a really strong potential there in that back end of the game. You could induce a lot of retreats from the other side too, though, early.
And then if you needed to wait turn 5, which buffs Sunspot like crazy, because he's down and buffed twice.
Yeah.
Play Infinite turn 6, or Hulk, or Chavez.
Yep.
That's a nasty.
Yeah, it is.
Nasty deck. I could build that one right now too. I have all those cards.
Nice. But yeah, so
I don't know. Do I have vision? I might not have vision.
I hope you do. That's so essential to life. But yeah, that's community decks. And so we'll be right back with the clip show crossover where we bring some community clips into it. All right, so we are back with clip show crossover. We have 2 clips this week from community. One of them is from a Twitter follower who had a really amazing play that they had posted to Twitter, and we asked if it was cool if we could share it. So this is from Kelso_1014 on Twitter, and it's pretty nasty. all the Venoms and Arnim Zolas. He bar Sinisters 4 Arnim Zolas here. And they start killing themselves. And then when they kill themselves, they kill the Venoms. Because they go to the locations with Venom. Then Venom goes back to bar Sinister and eats Arnim Zolas. I mean, it is just getting nasty out here. He's got, at bar Sinister, 230, and it's still going. Like, this last turn is going to take 10 years. Because he's making so many Arnim Zola plays. And cutting the Venoms back over and over and over and over. Because he has to do Arnim Zola 4 times at bar Sinister. And then twice each time because he kills a Arnim Zola. And then Arnim Zola goes back and kills the Venoms. And if it's not killing a Venom, it's killing an Arnim Zola and putting another Arnim Zola back in bar Sinister. So it just keeps going. It's still going. He's got over freaking 900 and 800 at 2 locations with 2 Venoms by the time that's done. I mean, 609 power Venom. 988 power Venom. That's gross. That's fucking gross. And then our second clip comes from another streamer, Nico Wabbit, a community follower, and we hang out with him a bit. And he's a fun stoner, and he's also a tattoo artist and does some really cool artwork for his own channel. But we'll bring you his clip right here. So he starts out with a fuck, thinking, you know, uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Do anything. Yo, he tried tricking me and I fucking figured it out.
Dude played Arrow on him and he knew and didn't play.
1
and Arrow did
million
nothing.
IQ. I was wrong.
1 million IQ play, he says. Man, that's beautiful. And so that brings us to the end of this Snapverse616. See you next Friday. Stay tuned to the socials during the week for smaller bits of content and funny little things and, you know, whatnot and interactions. And if you want to be a part of this or if you have screen grabs or anything like that, let us know in the comments or throw us an email and hit us up on socials, either way. And then stay tuned for the credits and look below in the comments for or in the information for the Marvel Tracker spreadsheet we've been talking about on the podcast, and definitely take full advantage of that. So excelsior, true snappers, and we'll see you next week.
Where each deck fitted, even though I'm prone to snap that. Known to be so quick-witted, you sound Drax when you snap back. When everyone knows it rains Jess Jones on the tap mat. Think your boss sends the flow, administer vision if you're not at the spot I blow with a skip track. You tried to blow back the roof, so my armor said I will skip that. Jubilee still got a +1, Okoye said she's with that. Cause the Nightman cometh, Iceman stunneth, while the Hulkman smashing America ass who done it. Snapverse 616. Snapverse 616. Snapverse 616. Snapverse 616. Then Invoke drops Kazar cause he's Mr. Fantastic. His spectrum of skills are what let me handle this rap shit. His puff up, his clutch up, smokes 3 sacks like it's magic. But it's a Wolfsbane classic. You thought your full moon's Jurassic, but it's actually tragic. If I'm a silver fox with the flippity yippity yapping, he's quick like a rabbit. His girls unfurling squirrels while his flirkins hurling antics. Invoke the hawk-eyed watcher who ought to see through your static.